What's going on, everyone? This is Luke from South Beach Sports and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to have an honest and thorough discussion about Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and what his future looks like with the Dolphins. Before we get into the rest of today's video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on that post notification bell so you do not miss a single video. And comment down below your thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa and if you think he'll remain with the Dolphins next season. Through his short NFL career, Tua Tagovailoa has turned into one of the more polarizing figures in the entire league, just given the wide spectrum of opinions regarding him. You have people on one end of the spectrum who believe that Tua is a straight-up bust and that he's not worthy of a starting quarterback job in the NFL, and then you have people on the other end of the spectrum, those people who are called the quote-unquote Tuanon, that believe that Tua is destined for greatness and that the Dolphins front office, coaching staff, wide receivers, running backs are what is holding Tua back from achieving his full potential. I do think, however, that no matter which end of the Tua spectrum you might fall under, you would agree with the statement that Tua struggled badly on Sunday against the Titans. He might have had his worst overall game as a pro. He finished the game with 205 passing yards, 0 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble, and he looked worse than the stats indicated. And with their 34-3 loss to the Tennessee Titans, the Dolphins are officially eliminated from playoff contention, and that has led to a lot of people, including myself, to really look at this season carefully. And one of the takes that I can extrapolate from this season is that Tua Tagovailoa underperformed in year 2. He underperformed. It's that simple. He was better than he was in year 1, even though the stats may not indicate that as much as it showed on the field. He was a lot more aggressive in year 2. He made a lot more big-time throws, but he simply wasn't good enough. And given how good the Dolphins defense is, it's a championship caliber defense, if not championship caliber, at least playoff caliber defense. The Dolphins are entering win now mode. They're entering win now mode, and they need a quarterback who can elevate their talent, and frankly, I'm not sure if Tua is that right guy. The reason why I question if Tua can elevate the talent around him or not is just because Tua is a limited quarterback. He is. That is not a super anti-Tua statement. He has his limitations. All quarterbacks do, but some quarterbacks have more limitations than others. For Tua, for example, his arm strength is a very glaring limitation of his. And when you say arm strength, a lot of people just assume you're talking about throwing a 55-yard, 60-yard go route. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about when I mean arm strength. Sure, I would like Tua to make that 60-yard throw that we saw Justin Herbert throw 2 or 3 weeks ago, but he can't, and I'm fine with that. What I'm more concerned about when I'm talking about Tua's arm strength is his inability to throw that 15-yard out route to the opposite hash, his inability to thread the needle on an intermediate throw from 15 to 20 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Those are the instances where I'm concerned about Tua's arm strength. I'm also concerned about Tua's arm strength when he's off platform, when he's off base, when his mechanics are forced to get a little bit more choppy, when Tua is forced out of the pocket, and when he's on the run, especially when he's on the run to his right, his mechanics and his arm strength really suffers. For example, against the Titans, I believe this was the second drive of the game, but don't quote me on that. There was a 3rd down and long where Tua was forced to roll out to his left, and Matt Collins, the Dolphins receiver, came back to the ball, and he was open about 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. This was a 25-yard net air pass for Tua to make, and he simply didn't have enough on it. His arm strength and his arm failed him, and these are the type of throws where I'm not sure if Tua can make at a consistent level. Arm strength is something that can improve over the course of one's career, but it's not going to improve drastically. If Tua has an inability to consistently throw that 15-yard out route to the opposite hash, like I was talking about earlier, that's not something that's going to just happen later in his NFL career. Another issue and another concern I have with Tua is when the pocket is collapsing around him and when he's forced to make an off-platform throw and when he's forced to look off that first read and go through his different progressions, his decision-making is very questionable. I mean, very questionable. I'm not going to sit here and say that Tua is a one-read quarterback like some analysts and some media members like to say, because that's frankly not true. When Tua is comfortable in the pocket and when he's in rhythm, he goes through his progressions, makes the right reads, and frankly, he's pretty surgical. I think it's a good word to describe Tua when he's in rhythm. He's a surgical quarterback, but when he's not in rhythm, when the pocket is collapsing around him, and when Tua is forced to make an off-platform throw and progress through his reads, his decision-making has a lot to be desired for, and I feel like that has a lot to do with his mental wherewithal and that he feels the need that he has to make a play. He has to make a big-time play, and that has bit him in the ass a lot of times. Tua seems to have a really bad interception almost every game. There's usually that one throw where you're just questioning, why did he throw that? And I feel like a lot of that has to do with his thought process that he has to make a play instead of just taking a sack or simply throwing the ball away. With the 2022 NFL offseason quickly approaching, there are two different routes that I think the Dolphins could take regarding the future of Tua Tagovailoa. With these directions, there is the win now approach and the super duper win now approach. The win now approach includes keeping Tua Tagovailoa for at least another season, to Tua for at least another season, and really build a confident around him. The Dolphins will have upwards of $70 million to spend this offseason, which ranks them offensive line in the NFL. I expect some of this money to be spent on a new contract for Emmanuel Ogbah, Mike Gesicki, and possibly a new contract for Xavier Howard. But either way, the Dolphins will still have a ton of money to spend. And the first duty of this offseason plan or this offseason approach should be to completely revamp and rebuild that offensive line that what is right now possibly one of the worst offensive lines in NFL history. They have some of the worst tackles in the NFL in Jesse Davis and Liam Eichenberg, and they really need to acquire some starting caliber, if not some Pro Bowl caliber tackles. Lawson Jackson is another player who they need to upgrade from. He has struggled mightily at both left tackle and at left guard this season, and the Dolphins might also look to upgrade their starting center, Michael Dieter, who has been average at best, but could definitely serve to be upgraded. The Dolphins should also look to acquire a running back or two this offseason, maybe through free agency or the draft. The Dolphins have failed to really give Tua at least a decent running game, and a lot of that has to do with the inconsistent running backs they've brought in. While I do like Duke Johnson and what he's brought through the past two to 3 weeks, I wouldn't consider him a full-time option at running back, and the Dolphins should definitely look to acquire a running back, possibly in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. And I think the Dolphins could also look to acquire another wide receiver. While I think the receiving options are solid, and you have Jalen Waddle, you have Matt Collins, who always seems to make a big play, and you have Devontae Parker, who, when healthy, is very, very good. The Dolphins could definitely use another starting caliber receiver who is healthy most of the time and who is not an injury concern, because the Dolphins wideout corp this season of Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, and Will Fuller, more so Parker and Fuller, are very, very, very injury prone. With this approach, the Dolphins would be setting Tua Tagovailoa up for a make it or break it season in 2022, and if Tagovailoa performs up to the Dolphins standards, then congrats, you have a franchise quarterback. If he doesn't perform up to the Dolphins standards, then you would have a very solid surrounding team to take place of whichever quarterback is brought in next. The 2023 NFL draft class at quarterback is very, very strong, led by the likes of CJ Stroud, Tyler Van Dyke, Bryce Young, and Jake Haener. So if the Dolphins do decide to move on from Tua next season, then they would be looking at a very, very solid draft class to replace him with. The other direction that the Dolphins could take this offseason is the super duper win now approach, which would involve the Dolphins moving on from Tagovailoa and looking to acquire one of the potential quarterback whales in the trade market, such as a Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson. The most obvious name that has been linked with the Dolphins for months now is Deshaun Watson, who does have a lot of off-the-field concerns. I'm not going to get into those in this video, but those are legitimate concerns, and the Dolphins would have to do their due diligence excuse me, that's a tricky word there, on Deshaun Watson before looking to acquire him. But if the Dolphins acquire any of Watson, Wilson, or Rodgers, those would be tremendous upgrades over Tagovailoa, and I think any of those quarterbacks would at least put the Dolphins in playoff contention, if not championship contention, just pairing that up with their championship or at least playoff level defense. What that means for Tagovailoa in this scenario, I don't know. Do the Dolphins keep Tagovailoa as a backup? Do they look to trade him for a pick? I'm not sure, but there are definitely some different avenues the Dolphins could take regarding Tua Tagovailoa this offseason. I will say this pretty confidently though, that if the Dolphins do decide to move on from Tua this offseason, they won't look to upgrade at the position through the draft. The 2022 NFL draft class at the quarterback position is pretty weak. There's a lot of tier 2 guys such as Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Kenny Pickett, and Carson Strong, who are solid prospects but not necessarily can't miss guys. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Most of the Dolphins content I made throughout this season was film-based, but as we transition to the offseason, it's going to be a lot more commentary, a lot more predictions, and a lot more reaction videos, which I'm excited for. I'll still include some of those film-based Dolphins videos, but the frequency of those won't be as much. But I'm very excited for the Dolphins content that I will be introducing to this channel, as this is the first Dolphins offseason that I will be on YouTube for. So very exciting stuff. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the post notification bell so you do not miss a single video. And go ahead and comment down below your thoughts on Tua Tagovailoa and if you think he should remain with the Dolphins in the future. And with that being said, I will catch you later. Peace.